What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers kind of hinging on Deandre Ayton heading to them, right? However, I believe, it's just my thoughts, right? Again, not an insider, just a fan. But I think we got evidence yesterday that the Lakers believe that Deandre Ayton is heading to them, that they are going to sign him, and I think they know how much it's going to cost to sign them. And you might be thinking, Tyler, how do you know this? What makes you believe this? And it's the fact that they used part of the mid-level exception in order to sign Jake LaRavia, right? Signed him to $6 million, used part of the mid-level exception that was freed up in the Dorian Finney-Smith, him departing to the Houston Rockets. But it's not just that. There were reports earlier, previous to that, in which they talked about Deandre Ayton and the amount of money that he actually got. Originally, they thought he was going to get closer to $20 million, and then the idea was that he was going to take the full mid-level exception from a team to kind of offset the loss in salary, right? Well, he ended up getting $25.5 million, right, which you got $10 million less as opposed to $15 million less. And it just so happens to line up perfectly, I guess $1 million difference, but lines up essentially perfect with Jake LaRavia and his new contract. I think the Lakers know that they're getting Deandre Ayton, and that is going to be their starting center. My guess is it's a 2-year, because supposedly the Lakers want to kind of keep that flexibility for 2027, but I think it'll be a 2-year with like a player option for year 2. The reason you give him that player option is because that way he has the guaranteed $8 million. It kind of gives him the incentive to sign with you. If it doesn't work, it's not like you're in trouble regardless, right? Like, it's either this is going to work or it's not with Ayton, right? So I think that the Lakers do something like that. And then if he leaves, then he leaves. If he stays, then he stays. And kind of figure it out, right? If it works, you can give him a new contract, right? Give him a longer extension. Whatever, however it ends up shaping up. But that's kind of my thought process with Deandre Ayton and the Lakers. Because the biggest thing is, Ayton is basically it, right? Everyone else is off the board. You lost Clint Capella, you lost Brook Lopez, Luke Cornett, right? Now, granted, all those guys got paid more than the Lakers would have been able to pay them, because none of those guys are worth your full mid-level exception, given that all the things that the Lakers need, right? Especially Brook Lopez got like $9 million a year. Like, it doesn't make sense for the Lakers in that regard, right? But Ayton is the best center available. It's probably the best center available that they could have even traded for, right? And I'm glad that they didn't trade for him, because now you're going to get him for free. But if you're the Lakers, there is zero shot that you have the potential to solve your center position, and potentially long term. If it works out with Ayton, that's it. You could have your center alongside Luka for the next 6+ years, right? Not just this 2-year little window, but now the foreseeable future. There's no way you were blowing that opportunity to sign Jake LaRavia, who I like Jake LaRavia. I think he's going to be very good for the Lakers. I think he's going to be especially slotted alongside Luka and LeBron James, because he's a guy that can knock down the 3-ball, catch a shoot, create a little bit for himself, create a little bit for others. I think he's a guy that is going to be a solid rotation piece for this team. He's 23 years old, plenty of upside, plenty of potential. I think he could be a really good player. You saw him really starting to come alive with the Sacramento Kings, really starting to show that potential there. And then he ended up fracturing, I believe it was his finger. And, of course, then that kind of put everything on hold. But as good as I think he has the potential to be, as much as I like him, the Lakers desperately need a center 1. 2, again, Ayton is the best option that you could possibly get, and you're going to blow that and potentially risk losing him just to get LaRavia, right? Like, you were better off holding, like, hey, yeah, we're going to sign you, we want to sign you, we're trying to work it out, but we need Ayton. Like, he has to be the priority. We have to get him first because we desperately need a center. So we'll sign you with the, biannual. We'll figure it out, right? We'll work that out. You don't blow the opportunity for Ayton otherwise. Also, Chris Haynes talked about how, he essentially, if you watch these couple of these interviews, you could tell, like, he was like tiptoeing around certain questions and stuff about Ayton. And he didn't flat out say that Ayton's going to sign with the Lakers, because I don't think that he can. right? But you did see him kind of, hint, hint, wink, wink. And then, one of the guys asked him a question about somebody. He's like, I don't know about that. And he's like, so Ayton's going to the Lakers. And he was just kind of like, So I think that everybody knows what the deal is. I think what's going to happen, like I said, he'll sign a 2-year, $16 million contract, $8 million a year, right? That lines up perfectly. Lakers will make a play for DeAnthony Melton, right? And then that'll give them, at bare minimum, Melton, Laravia, and Deandre Ayton, which I actually think is a good supplement for losing Dorian Finney-Smith. So here's the thing, right? You lost Dorian Finney-Smith and you lost him for nothing. It sucks, right? Because you just don't have a guy that can do what he does right now, right? Even Jake Laravia, the veteran leadership, the kind of been there, done that, the dirty work that Dorian Finney-Smith does. Again, the loss of Dorian Finney-Smith hurts, right? Never want to undersell that. He was a very good player for us last year. But you look at, you lost Dorian Finney-Smith. How do you replace him? Well, you're getting a guy in Deandre Ayton who, one, is the higher upside guy, the bigger need at that, because the Lakers need a center so desperately, but you're also getting a young upside potential player in Jake Laravia. So it's not just Dorian Finney-Smith. You're losing Dorian Finney-Smith and you're getting Ayton and Jake Laravia, because the way you were able to free up the full mid-level exception to sign both of those guys was by losing Dorian Finney-Smith. If you don't lose Dorian Finney-Smith, you don't have the way to sign both of those guys. So it kind of all just balanced and worked itself out. And I know there was the reports of like, Rob Pelinka was going around talking about his ankle. I just don't buy it. I don't. I just, one, that would be the most foolish decision anyone has ever. The guy, Rob Pelinka, say what you want about the guy, but the guy used to be an agent. Like, you don't think he knows how it works? You don't think he knows that agents talk? You don't think he knows that, like, if that gets out, that could be, detrimental to his career, be detrimental to the Lakers and them getting other players and whatnot? Like, it'd be the most foolish move that he could make. I just don't buy that. I don't. Right? Sometimes the simple answer is the correct answer. I think the simple answer is either A, Deandre Ayton became available and the Lakers were like, okay, well, the only way we can get that is if Dorian Finney-Smith leaves. So we have to let him walk. So what did they do? They didn't offer him a long-term contract. They probably tried to get him for, pennies on the dollar type thing. And he's probably like, no, I want more long-term money. I want all that stuff, right? Because LeBron didn't take a discount, opted in, right? It's fine. It's his right to do so. But because of that, the only other option you had is through Dorian Finney-Smith or salary dump, right? I think that they just knew, okay, Ayton's available. Can we get Ayton? Yes. Okay, then we got to let Dorian Finney-Smith walk. And then, okay, how much does Ayton want? He basically wants the difference that he lost in that. Hey, can we, use $6 million to go get Laravia? Sure, that's fine. He'll sign for it. That's what I think happened, right? Or it was just finances. Lakers didn't want to give him a long-term salary because it would have been 36, 37 by the time that's done. Supposedly the Lakers want to free up or keep flexibility for 2027 to go get that co-star alongside Luka Doncic. And I just think that the Lakers looked at the situation and were just like, it's probably in our best interest to let him go. And they just didn't align with what they wanted. It happens. It sucks that you gave up 3, second-round picks in order to acquire him. But at the end of the day, it's like, again, like, would you have traded 3 seconds to go get Deandre Ayton? Yeah. Would you have traded a second or two to go get a guy like Jake Laravia, who, was averaging 18 before the injury, young, two-way prospect, 23 years old, gives you some young, athletic. He's not like a hyper athlete, but, he's athletic out on the perimeter. Yeah. Right? Like, again, like, why wouldn't you? I mean, Jake Laravia was Rui Hachimura 3 years ago when we traded for him, right? Similar size, similar skill set, similar kind of idea, right? So I do think that the Lakers, I think everything just kind of unfolded. I think as soon as Deandre Ayton became a free agent, it changed everything. It changed going after Capella, it changed going after Brook Lopez. It changed literally everything for the Lakers. And I also think that those centers looked at it and realized it changed everything. You don't think Clint Capella was like, oh man, I went from potentially starting to now I'm going to have to play a backup role. I might as well get the money on a team like Houston and play the backup role, right? Because they're going to go sign Ayton, and then I'm only going to at best be able to get $5 million a year, where I can go get $8 million and play the same role, right? Brook Lopez, same thing. It's like, okay, I could take a vet minimum, right, and go play a backup for the Lakers, or I could take $9 million a year and go play a backup for the Clippers. Like, that's what I think. I think the Ayton acquisition, or Ayton potential acquisition, I think messed everything up. I think the Ayton to the Lakers thing is probably the worst kept secret right now. And I think it's going to happen, right? Whether it happens today, later today, whether it happens, tomorrow when he officially becomes, when he clears waivers and then they can officially sign him, I think it ends up happening. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Should like the video, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one. Thank you.